Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to 90 Day Fiancé latest news. At first, there was only hope. Two hearts, 5,000 miles apart by sea. Two lives forged in very different places. One amid the soft-lit splendor of London's West End, and the other in the harsh sunlight of Southern California. Rob Warne and Sophie Sierra were never going to be easy. Viewers were captivated to their chemistry and the tension that was always there, like a fault line waiting to crack, from the first time their story aired on 90 Day Fiancé. And now, after years of misunderstandings, emotional landmines, culture shock, and fighting, that fault line has finally broken for good. There is no longer any doubt that Rob Warne and Sophie Sierra are getting a divorce, according to official legal records and reports from people who know them well. It's official. Last. Not able to be changed. The marriage that once fascinated millions with its glitz, turmoil, and vulnerability is now just a line in a court record. But to know how it all turned out, we need to go back to the beginning. Sophie Sierra. Stylish. Strong. In style. Born into comfort, but not without problems. Sophie was born and raised in the UK, so she was used to both privilege and hardship. She was often torn between being included and being alone because she was mixed race and openly bisexual. And beyond the filtered grins and manicured social media posts, there was a woman who wanted one thing more than anything else: to be safe. Not safety in the literal sense, but mental safety. To be comprehended, heard, loved completely. Rob Warne, on the other hand, found his own way in life. A person who rides a skateboard, a person who plays music, a person who takes pictures. He was proud of his strength, which he learned from going through hard times. He seemed cool and hard to pin down to viewers, like an artist who would rather use a camera than words to convey himself. His childhood was full of problems. There was never a model of emotion. People thought that being vulnerable was a sign of weakness. And when love was given, it often came with strings attached. When Sophie initially flew into Rob's orbit, something strange happened. They got along. Not in a way that felt like parts of a puzzle sliding into place, but in a way that felt raw and magnetic. A draw that neither of them could explain, but neither of them could resist. To Sophie, Rob represented a way out, a way to get to the kind of realness and groundedness that she thought was missing from her perfectly planned life. Sophie was like a flash of light to Rob. She was full of energy, color, and class that made him feel, if only for a moment, like he was part of something more than his life. But as the phrase goes, chemistry doesn't mean that two people are right for each other. The first signals of trouble were small. Sophie thought the US would be warm and welcoming. What she found was an apartment with few things in it, a partner who lived far away, and a city that felt colder than she had ever thought it would. Rob, on the other hand, had different ideas. He expected Sophie would come in thankful, flexible, and ready to work. Instead, he saw that she was impatient with their money problems, emotionally unstable, and, in his words, entitled. The separation started early and just became worse. Sophie wanted to be close. She wanted to talk. Openness. Emotional relationship. Rob wanted to be at peace. Be quiet. He wanted people to trust him without having to explain. Loved without having to do anything. So they did a risky dance, with one partner reaching out and the other pulling back. Every talk felt like a war zone. Every quiet moment was a storm waiting to happen. The moment that changed everything came without a sound. There was no fight. It wasn't cheating. It was a find. Sophie, who was getting more and more uncomfortable in Rob's place, saw something weird. A light that blinks. A little thing that doesn't belong. And then the truth hit home. Rob had put a webcam in their shared space, which he said was for security. But Sophie thought that was the worst form of violation. She wasn't getting any protection. Someone was watching her. The fallout happened right away. Crying. Yelling. Be quiet. Trust, which was already on the verge of breaking, broke. Sophie lost it. "This isn't a home," she remarked in a confessional. "It's a cage." Rob, who seemed defensive yet remote, said it was safe. It wasn't about her. It was only for the house. For safety's sake. But everyone watching could see what neither of them could say out loud. The camera wasn't the issue. It was the sign of not trusting, of power, of the emotional gap that had always been there, just below the surface. After that, their relationship was in limbo. In geography, we're together. In spirit, apart. As the weeks grew into months, Sophie started to fade. Her confidence, which used to be strong, was dampened by worry. She used to speak loudly and defiantly, but now her voice was shaking. She was losing herself not because Rob hit her, but because he wasn't there for her. He couldn't show up. His refusal to go back. And what about Rob? He moved back even more. He got quiet as things got tough. He turned away when Sophie needed him the most. It wasn't mean. It was about staying alive. He didn't know how to give something he had never gotten. In the end, Sophie departed. Not with a scream. Not with a bang. She just packed her luggage, booked her flight, and left. She went back to her mother's arms in London. To the city where she had previously felt trapped, but now felt free. Rob stayed in California, taking pictures of the skies they used to look at together and walking alone on the beaches they used to enjoy. There were no calls. No ending. Just being gone. The kind of absence that makes a sound. Time went by. And then, quietly and behind the scenes, legal proceedings began. Sophie asked for a divorce because they couldn't agree on anything. There weren't any big fights in court. No gossip magazines. No requests for spousal support. Just one last, serious break in the legal bond that made them husband and wife. Rob didn't argue. The method looked easy on paper. It was anything but emotionally. Over the next few months, they all started to get better in their own ways. Sophie found her voice again. Not by working with influencers or being on TV, but by being alone. By writing in a journal. Through therapy. By learning how to sleep again without being afraid. She stopped looking for love that made her beg. Stopped trying to help individuals who didn't want it. I don't hate him, she wrote not long ago. I just love myself more now. And what about Rob? Rob was gone. He got rid of a few of his social media profiles. Stopped doing interviews. Instead, they focused on art, such abstract pictures, blurry portraits, and movies without captions. People who know him believe he's more self-aware now. Be quiet. Sometimes sad, but also truthful. He has started to talk about the trauma he never talked about. The childhood traumas he tried to hide. The patterns that cost him more than just Sophie. So here they are. On different continents. Living distinct lives. With a past that neither can forget. They don't talk anymore. Not in writing. Not in postings. Not even in interviews. But maybe they don't have to. Some ties are so strong that their ashes stay around forever, even when the fire goes out. Rob and Sophie really had something. Not perfect. Lovely. Sad. And now it's over. It looks like their divorce is official. But their narrative will live on, not in the tabloids, but in the millions of people who saw them strive, fail, hurt, and hope. They were never flawless. But they were truthful. Even when they don't say anything. They told us that love, no matter how strong, can't last without talking to one other. No one is responsible. Without growing together. They told us that love alone is never enough. And maybe the most important thing they taught us was that leaving isn't always a failure. At times, it's the most courageous thing we can do. So Rob is Rob now. Sophie is who she is. Not halves of a whole anymore. And maybe that's how it was always going to end. Not with anger. Not by betraying. But a quiet, difficult, and necessary goodbye. Because not every love story is intended to last. Some are aimed to instruct. And Rob and Sophie's journey, with all its chaos, anguish, and beauty, will go down in history as one of the most human stories ever portrayed on 90 Day Fiancé. This gossip is over. If you like the video, then give your opinion in the comment box and stay with us by subscribing the channel. Thank you.